Hello everybody, it's me Scoop, and today I am finally here 5 months and 500 views later to talk about this bad boy, the Xbox Series S. Now, you may have seen my unboxing video that I, like I said, did 5 months ago, where I brought this bad boy out of the box and was very excited about it. And very sadly, it was kind of broken. So, the story was the internal SSD was kaput. It was no good, no bueno, no functional, and it couldn't do the initial software update that it has to do to do literally anything an Xbox do. So Microsoft put all the effort on me to find a replacement, get it shipped to my local Best Buy, and go pick it up. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Really made this easy for me. So, anyway, now that I've been with this bad boy for a couple months, it is time for that part 2 I long promised you. I'm gonna be going over all of it. I'm gonna be going over general thoughts. I'm gonna be playing a little bit with it. Maybe. I'm gonna be doing a performance comparison between this and the Xbox One. And I am gonna do it all. Except for unbox it, because, I mean, you already saw that. It went the same way the second time. Except I didn't rip the box. I didn't rip the box. So that was good. No box rip. It's looking clean. So instead of making you guys wait through the entire video for my final review, because I know that's what a lot of people care about, and I'm not going to make you guys watch the whole video, even though that's how you grow your channel, I'm going to be a nice YouTuber. And I'm going to sum this up for you right here, right now, and then go in depth. The Xbox Series S is one of the best consoles, gaming, technology, any type of equipment I've ever bought, and it is also one of the most budgeted that I've ever bought. It's the same price as Mr. Nintendo Switch down here, and has infinitely better performance. The controller is just an absolute work of art over those Joy-Cons, I'm gonna be honest with you. And 1080p gaming, it's still where we're at, okay? It's not time for consoles to make that jump to 4K. It's not necessary. I love this thing, and you should buy it. That is the final review. And now let me explain. To start with some general thoughts about the Xbox Series S, like I said, $300 for this bad boy is insane. The only place that you are compromising with that price tag is the storage. Storage on this is, well, it's not great. As you can see, I have 1.2 terabytes free, which is thanks to this little guy right here, which I believe has 2 terabytes on it. So if we go to filter, internal storage. Yeah, so 97.5% full. That is not great for the amount of games I have on here. Doom Eternal is not installed, battle mode at least. I don't really know the difference. I'm gonna uninstall Dead by Daylight. So for Halo, Destiny, Outriders, Rocket League, those are really the games that take up not even really Rocket League. It's basically 3 solid sized games, and that's it, 9 gigabytes free after all that. And I get what they're doing because, I mean, the Xbox Series X, I think, goes up to a terabyte, maybe. If it's only 512 gigabytes, that is straight up a scam. I'm gonna have to double check that later. But that's it, okay? The storage is a compromise, and I will fully admit that. And like I said in my unboxing, you don't go out and buy those expansion slots that Xbox sells. They're so overpriced. This is like 2 terabytes for what, like 30, 50 bucks, something like that. I mean, you can't argue. And really the only reason that you would be getting the expansion slot from Xbox is if you need that extra high performance for your 4K TV, because obviously that's not going to run as fast as an internal SSD. But at that point, I feel like the person who needs that extra performance and is squeezing every bit that they can out of it is probably the person buying the Series X in the first place, which will have much more storage. So then you might not even need it at that point. So it's kind of this weird oxymoron where those are really meant for like the really hardcore gamers who are buying the Series X. That is their main form of gaming. They play a lot of games, you know. Call of Duty would take up this entire slot. Issue number 2. The controller. Now, calling the controller an issue is a massive overstatement. This is, without a doubt, the best controller I've ever used. I will obviously compare it to the Xbox One controller later. I'm not entirely sure what they changed about the ergonomics of this bad boy, but they made it grippy, which I think is definitely part of it. It's just overall just so much better feeling in the hand. The triggers aren't that mushy, the buttons are clicky. Now you have this share button. This little guy right here, this tiny little button, changes everything about how you interact with your console. I'm talking instant screenshots, instant screen recordings, and I take a lot of those because when a game looks beautiful, I want to take a picture and I want to appreciate it. As you can see from the homepage, beautiful screenshot from the middle of Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Fantastic game, you should definitely go play. And now I can just set it as the background. Beautiful, I didn't have to pause the game as I was playing, press like the X button a bunch of times, and get a screenshot that way. I'm just in the middle of having my guy Ori, wherever he is, somewhere there, fly across the map, just click button, screenshot captured, that's it. That button is innovation enough to call this a next-gen controller. I'm not even kidding, that's how much I love it. What I don't love about this boy right here, this fella, is the battery life is absolutely horrendous. I rarely even change the batteries on my Xbox One controllers. I've already changed it 3 or 4 times, and I was gone for months this summer working at a camp. And I don't understand what they did to make the battery life so bad. I don't even use Rumble on this most of the time, so I really don't understand what's soaking up so much power. So yeah, besides the more minor battery issue, this controller is an absolute masterpiece. However, if I could just go off on a very heated and quick sidebar, what is not a masterpiece, this right here, see this? This is the Xbox Elite Controller Series 2, okay? I got this for Hanukkah last year. Biggest waste of money I've ever seen. This thing weighs a cajillion pounds, okay? You don't want to be able to switch out all the pieces. Okay, you see this? I like this D-pad because it doesn't have these weird fake buttons on it that make me press the wrong buttons. It's just designed so it looks like a circle and it looks cleaner. That looks good. This looks ugly, okay? The thumbsticks, okay, yeah, sure, the thumbsticks might feel ever so slightly better, but look at that. I ended up switching the thumbsticks out for basically the same one. It's just a little bit wider. I don't know how good the angle is on this, but I'm sure it's fine. You lose that huge innovation of the share button in replacement for whatever this thing is that switches your profile of the controller. I don't know how often you're switching this controller out with family members who all want custom settings on their controller, so it's kind of useless, and I 1000% prefer the share button. And what I really wanted this for was the Bluetooth option, because I had the original Xbox One controllers without Bluetooth, which was a pain in the butt. And these the triggers, because the triggers are really mushy, right? On the normal Xbox One controllers, super mushy triggers, which I never liked. Well, now you can snap it back and they're super clicky, right? Wrong. This clickiness level actually hurts when you're playing for too long. If I'm playing Splitgate or something where I'm just bang, 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 like there's no auto fire option, my fingers would be bright red. So you're saying, try the middle option, I don't know. So I switch it to the middle option, except it slides back and forth every time. And even the middle option is still, it just hits like a rock when you get to the bottom of it. It's not well designed so you ease to a stop. It's the same mush, okay? It's like mushy, but at least this eases to the stop. This hits like a rock. It's just so poorly designed. It's so heavy. These paddles on the back are just annoying. Like, I disabled them after a couple of hours maybe, because when you're squeezing the controller because it's a tight moment, you're gonna hit X, Y, A, B all at the same time, which could do God knows what. And the biggest sin of all that this godforsaken $150 controller did, it has mushy buttons. It has sticky buttons. They're mushy. The triggers are either mushy or they're rock solid, or the buttons are sticky. I replaced this because the A button would literally get stuck. I would press it down, it just wouldn't come back up, so I had to get a replacement. This one did the exact same thing. For weeks, I literally sat there one time just hitting the A button, and it's finally stopped being sticky. But for the most part, it stopped being sticky, but sometimes it still does that. If you're using an Elite controller, that is the worst possible controller to be sticky. The Xbox, for $150 for a controller, that's half the price of the goddamn console. You're playing esports with this bad boy, okay? If you have a sticky button, that could throw the whole game if you're like a high-end esports player. So I don't know who this is for, or who Microsoft thinks they're fooling. Don't buy this. This is a joke. I have not used it in months over this. This is 1,000 times better. It is lighter, it is more comfortable in the hand, the triggers feel a lot better, the buttons, everything feels so much better on this. Please do not buy the Elite Series 2 controller, and if you have it, I'm probably gonna actually sell this. I should get on that. Okay, now that we're done talking about more of the, I guess, hardware aspect, let's talk about software and performance. Xbox's software is not the best. There's not crazy amounts of issues with it. I think the UI is actually very clean and looks great, but it's really, if you're trying to do a lot of online gaming, like I pretty much use this as a Splitgate video watching Destiny machine. That's like most of what I do on this bad boy. And trying to get into a voice chat with your friends to play Destiny, or God forbid if you have to LFG on this, it's not good. That's definitely one of the worst parts. I'm not even sure how to get to the LFG. It's a really odd system. As you can see here, I have a bunch of invites from stuff that, you know, I was LFGing on Destiny to do some of those exotic quest missions where you need 3 people. And it's really messy. Like, I could never imagine trying to get a raid with 6 people on here. In fact, let's actually try to do that. I'm not gonna get into a raid. I just want to give you guys more of a live example of what the LFG looks like. Also, while this loads, I would just like to reiterate, a little out of context, that, like I said in my unboxing video, this thing looks beautiful. It has fantastic packaging, and the design is just amazing. I think white is really the design for gaming, and black is the design for every other kind of tech. I think the white with a hint of black, you know, the black accent, is just the way to go, especially on the Oculus Quest. Both of them look incredible. Okay, so without even necessarily leaving this pick your character page, you can see the LFG, you go Xbox, people looking for group, 515 posts for Destiny 2. So now you're in this like weird half folded out menu where you can see everyone's type of post. So we have someone looking for Vault of Glass, and then you can make tags for what you want. Shared Wisdom, I don't even know what that is, but okay. Prophecy Dungeon, all that kind of stuff, adults only, you know, you can mark it however you want. And then to join, you have to say, I'm interested. You don't just automatically join, you say, I'm interested. Then that person has to let you into the group, and then they have to separately, once you're into the group, it doesn't automatically join a chat or an invite. You have to join the chat, and then you have to send an invite or receive the invite. And it's just a weird number of steps to just throw someone in a game, especially if it's like something more casual. I think it should really be an option. I'm interested should be an option, I mean, where you can just automatically, if someone says I'm interested, they join your party, they join the chat, it sends them an invite. Or if you're doing something like, you know, a raid and you really want to go fast, you want to check the person out first, then you should be able to put the I'm interested option where the person presses it, you can check them out, and then once you let them in, it sends the invite in the chat. Either way, the chat and the invite should be automatic. I don't know why it isn't. It makes it needlessly complicated, and I really think Microsoft has to get on that. But yeah, like I said, besides that, very clean UI. I love the way the Xbox looks. You get the time, the battery life of your controller, if your microphone's plugged in, recent games across the top, just some recommended stuff over here, which is all actually stuff I would be interested in, so definitely good job keeping track of what I like. And then you can pin stuff here. I just have my pins as like, you know, the video apps that I use. And then you can pin whatever you want down here. So I have the games that I play the most, Destiny, Rocket League, and then the store. So yeah, like I said, clean UI, looks nice, just needs an LFG fix. And then, honestly, it's good to go. I would just like to say, the specs on this don't matter. If you're deciding what console you want, you know, PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, maybe something like the One X, if you maybe want to go, I think it's actually the same price as this, which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. If you're researching the console, specs is not what you have to look at. It can depend on so many things. It can depend on optimization. It could depend on what kind of TV you have it plugged into, what kind of frame rate the game itself uses that you're testing it on, any of that stuff. So all you really have to look at is just how it runs a handful of games. You don't have to say, oh, I don't like it only has this processor and this kind of GPU and only 2.5 fans. Like, that's not the important part. Performance on this is fine. Games never stutter, really. Some of the loading times are a little bit long, but not even close to the Xbox One, which could take forever to load a menu. And I run this at 1080p. This is a 1080p TV. I've tested it on a 4K TV, and like I said earlier, 4K is just really not necessary on a console. It's nice to have, especially if you're splurging for a $500 console. I think it should be an option, but you're really not missing out. And I don't know how many people are buying the one at the Series S. God, these names are so horrendous. To plug into a 1440p high frame rate monitor. So I don't think there's many 1440p TVs out there. So you're really not using this in 1440p, but I guess you do technically have the option. And in terms of frame rates, obviously the frame rate can go up to 120 on optimized games. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is really the only one that comes to mind. And while the TV doesn't support 120 frames, you can definitely tell it's running a bit faster and a bit smoother than a lot of other games, and it looks absolutely spectacular. So do not worry about the performance being choppy or just not what you want. This has incredible performance, and I cannot stress this enough. For $300, this is a mad lad, okay? I love this console. I've already said it so many times. Let's get into that performance review. Alright guys, here it is. The new challenger has entered the ring. Now, as you can already see from a side-by-side comparison, this bad boy is like half the size of this thing, and yet they actually have a similar weight, which is pretty wackadooski. But this is a big boy right here, okay? It is, like I said, it's almost double the size. I mean, of course, you do have the DVD disc drive player thing, which is a big factor. But, I mean, it's just so big. It has this humongous fan, and it is ridiculously loud. So, in every way imaginable, this is an upgrade over the original Xbox One. And I would like to say, the only way it's not an upgrade is the power button. I'm sorry. This power button, while it's a little sensitive, yes, is so cool. I mean, it feels like you're tapping a screen and the whole thing jumps to life with that cute little ding. This one, you know, it feels like you're turning on a controller, like it's just a normal button. It's you know, it's whatever. This is cool, this is futuristic, this is just, I don't know, a physical button, yes, it's more practical, but I'm gonna stick to my guns on this. I like the way this turns on. Hello everybody, I'm back. I got the Xbox not so up and running. It actually is having a very similar issue, completely ironically, to what happened when I got the new one, and it refuses to update. So we have to stay offline, which is fine because I can at least get Halo the Master Chief Collection open. So because I have it on both consoles already, I'm going to be using that to test, turn on load times, all that kind of good stuff. So let's get right into that.
Systems online now. I rewrote your key firmware while you were out.
You've been busy.
Chief, be careful! Because some areas might have lost pressure.
Right.
Chief, watch out! You realize this ship has deteriorated so badly.
One feature I'm actually yet to mention, which I don't know how I went this long without talking about it, maybe because it's more of a really cool idea than something you're actually going to be using all the time, is something called Quick Resume, where essentially the console can have maybe a couple, I'm going to say 3 to 5, I haven't done full testing on this yet, games running at the exact same time, so you can swap between them without completely closing out of the other and losing whatever you were doing and having to reload it later or having to reload the new game. So for example, if I am in a very exciting Halo 5 Guardians cutscene, because everyone knows the story of this game is just spectacular, I can just pause that up, go here, and let's go play some Halo Master Chief Collection because Halo 4 is better. Whoops, I pressed B. There we go. Quick resume up in the corner, short loading screen, and boom, you're back in the game, baby. Right where you left off. And then, of course, you could pause this, and then go right back to the dumpster fire. Quick loading screen, quick resume, and boom, back in the game. So yeah, it was just a cool little feature I wanted to remind you guys of that the old Xbox One would not have, so not only would you have to deal with way longer loading times, you could not swap between games as easily, and that is a massive bonus for the Series S. Now, to just quickly wrap this up and give some closing thoughts, I know comparing Halo on both consoles is kind of doing the Xbox Series S a disservice because it's an Xbox 360 title, but it does come from Halo the Master Chief Collection, which is kind of the Xbox game to have. So I thought it was pretty fair. I think between the field of view, the quicker load times, the loss of the internal power, or the loss of the external power brick, which is honestly a huge deal, even if the cable is a little short, it's all just so tightly wrapped up into this beautiful $300 package that I see absolutely no reason to not love, and if you're looking for a new console, not to buy. I have never owned a PlayStation, I don't use PlayStation, but from what I've seen, I just think this is better in so many ways. Yes, there's not a lot of storage, and I did mean to correct myself, it's 512 gigabytes, which is still not a lot based on how big games get, but it's not horrendous. And yes, there's no disk drive, which is a little upsetting, especially if you have a lot of old Xbox titles. I don't think you can see any of those that rely on a disc. But at the same time, between the new Xbox, and if you get Xbox Game Pass, it is an absolute steal that I would give a 9 out of 10 to. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Keep it crispy.